Hey, welcome back. And in this video, we're going to be covering the 2023 season for the UCLA Bruins. Now, this is an interesting year for not just UCLA, but for the Pac-12 and really all of college football because this year, excuse me, next year will be the year of the basically of conference realignment because the four of the biggest names in college football, USC, UCLA, they're going to be moving from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, and Texas and Oklahoma are going to be making their inaugural debuts to the SEC. So this will be the final year that you see UCLA and USC in the Pac-12, which is which for if you're a Pac-12 fan or you're a part of the Pac-12 Commission Board, this is a going to be a very, 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 very bittersweet year for you because in one instance, you can have one instance it could be the start of a new chapter in the Pac-12 conference, but two of your biggest names in the conference are going to be leaving to join elsewhere, and they happened just after the Pac-12 as a entirety of the conference looked like they were on the rise up because last year you had big improvements from USC, big improvements from Washington, big improvements from Oregon State. Arizona improved, and Colorado just hired Deion Sanders, which is going to bring a lot more eyeballs to Colorado, and is going to bring a lot more eyeballs to the Pac-12. Well, sadly, not only is USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12 to go join the Big Ten, excuse me, but apparently, from what I've been reading, Arizona and Colorado have been are uh, flirting with the idea of going from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. Now, for Colorado, it will be a return to the Big 12 because they used to be in the Big 12, which used to be the Big 8 before they went to um, the Pacific Athletic Conference, the Pac-12. And to lose out on those teams just when the Pac-12 was starting to get better in terms of its quality of play in football has to be a tough pill to swallow for their commissioner. But enough of that. We're gonna focus now on UCLA. UCLA hired Chip Kelly in 2018. His first year was in 2018, and the first 3 years were bad. They were very, 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 very bad. His first 3 years at UCLA, he went 10 and 21 in his first 31 games. 10 and 21. But after those first 3 years were over, the last 2 years he has hit his groove uh, at UCLA because they have won 17 of their last 25 games with him as their head coach. Now, maybe that could be because he was coaching in the NFL. Remember, he left Oregon to go coach the Philadelphia Eagles and then the San Francisco 49ers for a year, and then he was a college football analyst. So maybe being away from the game had to give him some time to get back to certain schedules or the responsibilities of what it was to be a head coach in college football because he was away from the game for an extended period of time. And for UCLA, they have gotten much better over the last couple of years. They went 8-4 in 2021. Then they went 9-4 last year. Last year they put up 39.2 points a game, which was eighth in the FBS last year. They had highlight wins against Washington, who was 11-2, which was a big improvement for the Huskies, and Utah, who won the Pac-12 last year, and they actually have won the Pac-12 the last 2 seasons. So this will be an interesting year for UCLA in their last year in the Pac-12. They'll be headed to the Big 12 next year in 2024. Their first 3 games right here: Coastal Carolina, San Diego State, and NC Central. Uh, it should be they should win these 3 games. I mean, the only one that I could say had give you a little bit of trouble is maybe San Diego State, being the sense that you're gonna have to be on the road. But even then, that should be a rather dominant performance by the Bruins, and they should ease their way to a 3-0 start. Then they go on the road to Utah, and on the road to Utah is going to be a tough challenge for them. Sorry about that, my lighting went weird for a second. It's going to be a big challenge for them going on the road, playing a good team, playing a well coached team in Utah. They won, like I said, have won the Pac-12 the last couple of years, and this time you're going to be going on the road in Salt Lake City to play Utah. I think UCLA takes their first loss here. Then after that, they get a bye week. They'll be on the road at Washington State Cougars. Washington State last year hired a new head coach. Their first year under Jake Dickert, who was their first year head coach last year. They went 7-6, not too bad being for a first year head coach. Um, I think they should go on the road and oh, excuse me, this is not. I think this will be at home against Washington State. Excuse me, they'll be at home against Washington State. I think they could beat Washington State, put themselves 4-1. Then they're going to be on the road at Oregon State, and Oregon State was probably the most under the radar team of college football last year because they were 11-2. I mean, I saw what they did to my Gators in the Las Vegas Bowl. They absolutely destroyed Florida. But Oregon State, excuse me, last year was an 11-2 squad. They were 11-2, and I don't think they got enough credit for the year that they had to to go 11-2 last year for any program is a very good year. Well, it may not be a great year if you're Ohio State, Michigan, or Georgia, but for Oregon State, that is a wonderful, tremendous season to have. And they're going to be on the road at Corvallis to play the Beavers. I think on the road, that might be a very tough ask for UCLA to go on the road and beat Oregon State. I'm going to say they lose on the road to Oregon State, but I don't think it will be a blowout. I think it will be a close game. Then after that, they're on the road again at Stanford. Stanford was have been a has been a deteriorating program for the last few years under David Shaw. They hire a new head coach this year. It's a very, very difficult thing to ask your new head coach to beat UCLA, who's developing momentum under Chip Kelly, and to beat them in your very first year, even if it is a home game for the Stanford Cardinal. I think UCLA goes on the road, gets a win against Stanford. Then the next week is against Colorado. Colorado, as I mentioned before, is hired Deion Sanders, so a lot of eyeballs are going to be on Colorado this year. Colorado was a 1-11 team last year. As much as I respect what Deion Sanders did at Jackson State, I can't expect him to go into coaching into the Power Five for the first time in his coaching career and take a team that's 1-11 and make them into a 7 or 8 win squad. I think that's just way too much to ask for. If you're a Colorado fan, anywhere between 4 to 6 wins, you should be happy with. I mean, you were 1-11 last year. You had the worst record in the Power Five, and I understand being excited for Deion Sanders, but there's a difference between being excited, and being delusional. And to expect Deion Sanders to get you to a 7 or 8 win year, 1 year after going 1-11, that's just not reasonable. And I think Colorado fans should just be happy with a 4-6 record, 4-6 win season. I have UCLA beating the Colorado Buffaloes. Then after that, they go on the road, Tucson, to play the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona, like Colorado in 2022, had the same record in 2021. They had the worst record in Power 5 in 2021, going 1-11. Last year made a little bit of an improvement. They went from 1-11 to 5-7. Now, I understand 5-7 is a losing record, and you didn't make a bowl game before a team that was 1-11 the year before. 5-7 is a very good year. That's the kind of year that Colorado fans should be expecting. You don't If you can make a bowl game, great, but you at least see if you can go take us from being 1-11 to maybe 4-8 or 5-7. Anywhere in that range, I think is an improvement, and that's what you should really be looking for if you're a Colorado fan is improvement. That's it. No high expectations, no 7 or 8 win seasons, 4 to 6, somewhere in that range. I think that's a good year for them. I have UCLA uh, going on the road and beating Arizona. I have them beating Arizona State the very next week. Arizona State went from 8-5 to 3-9 last year. 3-9. Uh, they're on their second head coach in a few years. They had to get rid of Herm Edwards after 2021. Then they hired a new head coach in 2022. Uh, no, excuse me. They fired Herm Edwards last year. They fired Herm Edwards. Now they have a new head coach this year. I think UCLA should go on the road and beat Arizona State. Uh, UCLA is just right now is at a better stage in its program than Arizona State is. And then you have a big matchup against USC on the road at USC. This was one of the more exciting games of football to watch last year. It came down to the wire between the USC Trojans and the UCLA Bruins. I think if I'm correct, USC won 48 to 45 last year. That was a very, 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 very close game, and a game that could have went to either side. Had a few plays, just resulted differently. Um, USC, Lincoln Riley, one of the best offensive minds in the nation, has one of the best quarterbacks and arguably the best quarterback in the nation in Caleb Williams. They're rolling right now. They have great players uh, entering the transfer portal with Lincoln Riley. They're going to have excellent recruiting, especially now that he's in the Southern California region. And now that you have UCLA getting better and it seems like right now this is one of probably the most exciting time of the USC UCLA rivalry of recent memory. Now that both teams are ascending and both teams are now leaving the Pac-12 to go join the Big Ten, it's an exciting time if you're a fan of either teams in this rivalry. I think UCLA loses on the road at USC. It's going to be a very, very, very tough matchup for them to go win on the road with all the firepower that Lincoln Riley has on the offensive side of the ball in addition to the fact that his offensive staff got better because he hired Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, if you're a USC fan right now, as excited as you were watching that offense last year, you should be even more excited this year because you already have Lincoln Riley, and adding Cliff Kingsbury to that mix to an already impressive coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why their offense should have any drop off whatsoever last year. Having Lincoln Riley and Cliff Kingsbury is a match made in heaven if you're a fan of offense in football. And then they finished their last game of the year against the California Golden Bears. California Golden Bears have been a floundering program for a while. Uh, I think UCLA should end their season on a good note and beat California. So if I'm correct, I believe this is a 9-3 season for UCLA. I have them losing to Utah. I have them losing to Oregon State, and I have them losing to USC. But other than that, I think they can handily win every single one of the rest of their games on this schedule. Uh, if there was a game that could give me a slight concern in terms of who I picked them to win, maybe it would be Arizona because of the improvement that they made and being that it's on the road. But I'm pretty confident that UCLA could score a 9-3 record. 9-3 record their would be a good year for UCLA all the way out from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. Back-to-back 93 records on the Chip Kelly. Maybe they could win their bowl game and get a double-digit win record, a double-digit win season. It's been a long time since UCLA has had that, so it would be a pretty good season for the Bruins, and it would cap off their time in the Pac-12 on a good note to walk away from the Pac-12 with your final 3 years being winning seasons and your final season being a double-digit win season. Uh, that's my prediction for UCLA. I predict them to go 9-3 in 2023.